Welcome to the $1 Million Nonprofit Podcast. I'm Tom Kelly, your nonprofit catalyst. As the founder of Charity Auctions Today and Donor Books, I've spent almost 2 decades helping organizations like yours break through fundraising barriers, engage communities on a deeper level, and accelerate meaningful growth. In this podcast, along with my incredible guests, we'll uncover transformational ideas, tackle challenges head-on, and share insider strategies that you won't find anywhere else. Each episode is designed to take your nonprofit to the $1 million mark and beyond, because impact doesn't scale by chance, it scales by choice. So let's get started. In today's episode, we're exploring the power of messaging and storytelling for nonprofit growth with Blake Benton, founder of Coming Together for a Cure. Blake shares his insights on how nonprofits can fine-tune their messaging to connect with different audiences, whether it's the donors, volunteers, or other people they serve. Drawing from his experience building a $1 million nonprofit focused on advancing stem cell therapy, Blake shows us how to craft authentic, compelling stories that truly inspire support. He explains why it's essential to tailor your message, whether you're talking to donors about impact or reaching out to families in need of life-changing treatments. Blake also shares practical tips on simplifying complex information for broader audiences and empowering your staff and volunteers to effectively tell your organization's story. We even get a sneak peek into Blake's upcoming documentary, The Sunshine Dreamer, which tells the story of his brother's journey with stem cell treatment, a powerful example of how storytelling can fuel a nonprofit's mission. This episode is full of actionable insights and inspiration, so tune in for a deep dive into nonprofit messaging that truly resonates. You won't want to miss this. Blake, welcome to the $1 Million Nonprofit Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so today we're talking about messaging and really kind of tailoring your messaging for about your organization, depending on who you're talking to. And that could be donors, volunteers, the people you serve. And, you know, you've grown a pretty large nonprofit now, and I can tell that you probably have lots of different stories that you kind of have in your toolkit for each person that you're kind of talking to really get the message across about why your organization is, you know, top notch, right? So, you know, in terms of messaging and promoting your own nonprofit, you know, why do you think this topic of messaging is so important to you? And, now that other nonprofits are listening, what do you think they need to take away from this conversation that we have today that will really help them to change up their messaging based on who they're talking to kind of excel their nonprofit even faster than if they just had one message for everybody that they talk to?
I think number one, don't overthink it. You know, especially when you're building something, you want to get what makes the most sense, what's the most clear, cohesive solution that you're trying to deliver to the problem that you care so much to conquer. And so for us, it was very clear from the start. We wanted our nonprofit Coming Together for a Cure to be able to advance stem cell therapy to become the standard of care for Duchenne muscular dystrophy and other rare chronic diseases. Now that's evolved a little bit over the years, but it's always maintained the same of advanced stem cells to help people with muscular dystrophy have a new solution and a new hope to overcome their disease.
And how do you see your organization's core mission, and how does that shape the way that you communicate with others?
Well, I think it's very crucial that you understand the person that you're talking to, what are their pain points, how much can you relate on off the bat, and from my experience, what can I do to actually provide value to them? And so like we can help people learn about stem cells for a variety of diseases, but also do we know enough about the disease itself that they're dealing with? Do we know how the stem cells can complement potentially the issues they're going with? Because you don't just want to jump in and pretend to be a subject matter expert, but it's building that relationship, building that rapport and that trust, and then identifying how my unique insights can provide a new benefit that they want to keep coming back to us.
And, what differences do you notice in your messaging when you're talking to people that you're serving compared to like your donors and your volunteers? How does that message change? And why is that important?
Well, again, it put yourself in their shoes. Like, I try to never treat a family or a patient we're trying to help like a donor. They need to be thought of as we are here to help them on their journey and help them solve their problems. And then with a donor, kind of the same deal almost. I don't want a donor to feel like a donor. Those individuals of high net worth and those that you're not exactly there to solve their problem, but to hope they can help you solve problems for others. It, it still is. I go to people and I say, here's the new things happening in our world. As I have that relationship evolve, is there something that our insights with healthcare and stem cells can possibly help them? And then we get into talking about the business and ways that their gift could be maximized. But really, number one, always putting the patients first, making sure that they never feel like a number and that they know why we're doing this. And it's because we have been in their shoes and we know how difficult it can be. And we know that if you do have the right type of guidance and the flashlight and the map, how how much of a blessing it can be if you can have a steward to get you where you need to be.
And when you're talking with volunteers and other employees that work for the organization, how are they utilizing the message and the mission that your organization has, and like how are they taking that message and crafting their own story? Because they're like a little army of people that are out there spreading the word, right? Like how are you training them, or how are you guys living your message so that they're absorbing it and being able to restate the message and tell the stories to kind of bring in more donors and more people that to kind of help support the organization?
Well, it's trying to identify again what are the most simple ways to say how stem cells has helped change lives of our loved ones, and then those that we believe it can be expanded upon. And so when our volunteers and the people that advocate for us, they tell the stories of my brother and the stories of other families that we've helped on their journey to receive stem cells. And it's painting a picture of what life looks like with the status quo, and then what life can look like in an enhanced version if you're able to access this innovative new medical breakthrough.
And when it comes to a lot of it is storytelling, right? And this kind of I heard you say that just a minute ago, and we talked earlier, and we talked about like just being your authentic self with your storytelling and with the messaging that that you, the employees, the volunteers, even the patients and the donors are all kind of spreading or are using and spreading the word. How what type of a role does storytelling kind of come into play? And how do you get somebody that works for the organization or volunteers for the organization to really kind of hone in that skill of storytelling so that their message when they're talking about your organization, is really on point, and they get the biggest, I guess, impact from that story or that message whenever they're talking to a donor or a potential volunteer or somebody out in the streets, outside of the organization.
Well, I think that's as the founder and executive director, I think that's my number one job is to lead by example and make sure that my actions and my the way I represent the organization can can um, can give others confidence to see the potential and to see the actual impact we can have because it's it's real. This was something that fell into our lap. The solution with the stem cells that my brother was given over 15 years ago, we learned from trial and error on how to make the most of this incredible gift. And so it just when when you're doing something not because it's a job, but because it feels like it's what you're supposed to do, it it's natural. And so how can I use this natural gift I have to ensure other people can be properly informed and guided to the right resources to be able to hopefully access stem cells. And then as we do more work on the back end to bring in industry partners to make this more efficient and have the right regulatory practices and have the right um, kind of strategic alliances, how can we ensure that others can follow suit? And it's really simple. It's just meeting them where they're at because we know what it's like to be in their shoes.
Well, and I can imagine that, like being in such like a technical industry, that a lot of the terminology that you use might be, over somebody's head.
Right.
They might not understand. So it's like, how do you really kind of, um, you know, uh, soften the words so that people that don't know what like stem cell research or stem cells do, how do you like kind of build that into your messaging and your storytelling so that it just makes it easy for people to understand pretty quickly without having to really explain in a 20-minute conversation, kind of what the organization does and be like, oh, okay, I think now I get it.
Yeah.
How do you kind of take that? Like, we have, the one nonprofit listening right now that has that situation. I'm talking to you, and they have this organization that has this really complicated and technical service that they support, and the people that they serve. How can you, what kind of advice would you give to them that they can kind of soften the language that they use so that they can, I don't want to say dumb down what they do, but dumb down the language so that someone that isn't in that industry can really understand what they can do a lot faster?
Well, for me, the way I look at it is in order to ensure that something complex can be understood to the layperson, where's the where's that first barrier to entry? And that's so us educating, like when we work with families, most often it would be for a child to potentially receive therapy that would be maybe going into middle school. And so I try to look at how can we break down the science using whatever type of figurative language we can to say how the therapy works. And so we put a lot of effort into creating some educational videos with motion graphics that take kind of cartoons and spell out how the therapy works in your body and what the potential it can do um, if you're able to access it. And so it's really just constantly thinking about, you there's there's so much of the technical information that's already there. But what's most important is that the families can comprehend and can trust that you're guiding them to something that is that hopefully can make a big difference and that it's reliable and that they that they trust you because that's what it all comes down to.
Yeah, and I want to go more into your organization coming together for a cure. And I have one last question about messaging, and then I want to learn more about what you guys do. But what advice or what tips would you offer the other nonprofits listening that are looking to kind of refine their messaging so that it can resonate with whoever they're talking to, whether it's the people they serve or potential supporters? What tips would you give them that they can take home and implement right away?
Well, I would look at other nonprofits that speak to you, understand how they do their social media, watch their YouTube videos. For me, Charity Water was a real kind of the first thought leader, the first organization that really inspired me to think differently in how we approach our marketing and our storytelling. And so it's like Charity Water, St. Jude, a couple other in the muscular dystrophy space that I think are really innovative and make sure um, that they're keeping the personal aspect so real because it's easy for something to look corporate and people can see right through that and
Yeah.
they want to know that it's led by humans that have a heart, that have a heart to serve and that have been in your shoes and know the pain points you're going through and that because they have all those things in common that they can believe in the work you're doing and then want to support it and join together. So find other organizations that you can tell are led by leaders that care and are okay being authentic, and it doesn't have to look perfect, but it has to look real. And yeah, that's probably the easiest way to put it.
Yeah, and Blake, you said something earlier where, when I asked that question about how does everybody around you, the employees, the volunteers, kind of spread the message, you said you got to lead by example, right? And that's what you try to do, is lead by example, be your authentic self, and really, kind of live the mission, right? And when they see that, they're going to catch up, they're going to see the stories, and really just trying, I think, to engage more with, all the people around you, the employees, the volunteers. Let them see your stories, let them hear how you talk to other people, and then that's how they can kind of learn a little bit easier to start sharing the same stories, and then eventually crafting their own stories based on the people that they see personally that organization's helping. So yeah, I think that's you're doing the right thing there of just leading by example and really just trying to create a mission for good. But I want to know more about Coming Together for a Cure. Tell me all about it. How did you start it? What does it do? Give the audience a little background on kind of how it started.
So in 2008, my older brother, he had a disease called Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and it's a terminal muscle wasting disease where kids around 10 years old, they lose the ability to walk, and then by mid to early 20s, most boys pass away with the disease as your body collapses on yourself. It starts to look a lot like ALS. And fortunately, when my brother was 22, he was at a pretty critical stage, but fortunately, a good family friend who grew up down the street from my dad in our hometown of Wichita had been involved in cancer research, and that led him to stem cell research. And he gave my dad a call and said, I think I discovered something that could help with Ryan. And when your back's against the wall and we had no other options, we prayed about it, and Dr. Bearden explained as much as he could, and we put all our confidence in him. And it allowed my brother to produce new muscle for the first time ever, and reverse the progression of his disease. So my brother he's a musician, and in 2008, after that first treatment, he said, okay, well, I want to give back. I want to do something so others can learn about this and eventually access this so it can become available for so many other kids and adults. And our family put together a fundraiser, which we called Coming Together for a Cure. So we did that year after year. And after the fifth fundraiser, we had raised a good amount of money. And I was a sophomore in college and trying to figure out how I could continue to expand this and continue to grow, and decide what I wanted to do for my career. And decided, okay, well, Ryan, we formalized the organization to a 501c3 nonprofit, and have been working hard ever since to help start stem cell clinical trials and work with families and other industry partners to ensure that families have the best care possible while they wait for stem cells. And then once they're able to access stem cells, how can we ensure that therapy can be maximized? So there's a lot that I can get into with that, but
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one of the easiest ways to narrow it down.
That's an amazing origin story for sure. And is your brother still around today?
Unfortunately, he passed away almost a year ago.
I'm
He
sorry to hear that.
was able to receive the therapy on a regular basis for about 14 years. And up until COVID, and then once COVID happened, it became too much of a challenge to continue to gain access to the treatments, because we were having to fly to Panama City, Panama at the Stem Cell Institute. And it once COVID happened, we weren't able to continue treatments anymore, and his body got weaker and weaker, and the effects took hold. So, but during those COVID days, he and I were constantly engaging with families, and he would help me with new fundraising strategies, or when I would go approach a strategic partner, he would kind of help me vet out different ways to say, well, let's not waste time on, are we trying to work are we developing some new software to systemize and automate a lot of the things we did to help families. That was the whole thing we did. And but what we really narrowed down on was the easiest thing, and that was storytelling and cataloging all the footage my brother had collected over the years, because he grew up in the era um, of the Jackass community, where the show on MTV with Johnny
Yep.
Knoxville. So these teenagers that are filming their whole adolescence. So he had a lot of this great footage showing the progression of his disease and how he mastered the most that he could despite his disability. And so we started narrowing down the best of all that footage, and then tying in footage we took as he maintained his treatments over the years, and then uh, interviews that we had done with other families around the world that we had helped on their journey to receive stem cells. So it's people from Ireland, Middle East, small towns in the US, Central America, you name it. I mean, I would be using Google Translate at all hours of the day, talking to these families all around the world, because Ryan was such a unique, um, kind of one of the first beacons of hope in this really dark disease. And so, so Ryan wanted to say, we have all this footage. We've got a pretty unique story. We've helped a ton of people. How do we package this together? Let's make a documentary. So once he couldn't continue treatments, we pivoted and said, well, we have a lot more time to invest in storytelling and ensure that our advocacy can be as strong as possible, so that your story can reach thousands of people, if not millions of people, and inspire them about what can be achieved if you can access this therapy. So that's what we've spent the last handful of years working on, and are pleased to announce that our feature film, so it's an 80-minute documentary, will be released at the first, it's at a top 10 U.S. film festival, at the Tallgrass Film Festival here soon. And then we have our international premiere in Rome here later this fall. And um, so yeah, I don't remember your question, but that's one of the things we've been doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, even just the ability to put together a documentary like that is a big feat, right? It takes lots of footage, lots of time, lots of commitment, and it's a great thing, and it's going to really spread the word about what your organization does and the impact that it has. And it's just a great way to really get your message out, too, of just helping as many people as possible. How can families, learn more about what you do and kind of get into your world? Maybe that have, family members that need the treatment that you have, or other families that want to maybe just contribute and kind of help support financially the organization.
Of course, so we're active on all social media, so Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and then our website is comingtogetherforacure.org, or the acronym ctfac.org. And really, we we feel that the life my brother had was so uncommon, and the way that he never took no for an answer, and the way that he mastered the most he could with every day. And the stem cells was just a tool that allowed him to have more juice to get out of bed every day. He had a drive because he was passionate about making music, and that musicianship drew a community of people around him, which gave him a lot of just this drive to want to get out of bed every day. And the stem cells helped give him more energy and the ability to have more strength to do so. So not only do we advocate for what the stem cells can do, but a lot of it is through the storytelling, how you can make the most to overcome your disability if you can have the right mindset and you can find a passion to pursue. And so another thing we're looking into is finding partners that can assist with helping patients find adaptive technologies to help them make music longer. Going from, when he lost his ability to play piano, he started using digital tools to produce everything on his Mac, on his computer. And then same deal with videography. And so that's a big thing that we really want to make sure that families are aware of, is that we don't want to just help access these new treatments, but we want to help people make the most of their life. And because you got to have something to live for. And he wouldn't have had such a fulfilling life if he wasn't so passionate about that music and then the friends that surrounded him to continue that pursuit. So
Well, it's such an amazing story too, and it's just nice to be able to, in the face of a disease that um, makes life so hard and has a short lifespan. I mean, it really helped to extend his life and be able to live that quality of life that he might not have been able to get if this treatment wasn't available. And it's an amazing thing to kind of see how much longer. You said he was able to continue to get treatments for 14 years after that you guys started. Is that correct?
yeah, most people pass away mid 20s, if not earlier. And he lived until he was 37. And his quality of life at 37 compared to when he was 22 and he started his treatments wasn't that much different. And that's just what's so crucial is that, it the earlier you can start this treatment, the better. But no matter what, when there's the standard of care is like there's the evolution there is a snail's pace, but this therapy should become the standard of care. So that's what we've put on the wall as our mission for so long, because we know it's achievable. We know there's no downside to this, and we know that it can be only um, a complementary resource to upcoming gene therapies. And so it's just, but again, with messaging, it's not just muscular dystrophy. This therapy can help with countless autoimmune, chronic, serious conditions from autism to spinal cord injuries, rheumatoid arthritis. It's a really long list of other diseases. And that's a big thing that we never wanted to say stem cells for muscular dystrophy, because I know my brother knows that or knew that this wasn't just about his disease, but it was about making sure that other people could have the same opportunity to receive the stem cells for whatever their medical issue is, because he knows how much it helps him. So we start with our niche, which is muscular dystrophy, master that, then we pivot out to other diseases and conditions that we know this can have a major impact with.
Mm.
So, and that helps us cast a wider net when I want to talk to potential donors or people that hopefully we can help, because it's not just muscular dystrophy, but if there's someone at their church that has muscular dystrophy and they're receiving stem cells, but then they realize, wait, what else can this help with? That's where we come in, and vice versa. So
And so with these treatments, do they come to Wichita or, how, or are there other clinics across the country and you kind of help support or direct them? How does that work when you are working with somebody that needs them?
well, currently this isn't available in the US. My brother was the first person to receive it in the US through a compassionate use investigational new drug application. So it's again, the technical lingo, but
Yeah.
that just added more credibility to our story and why so many people believe in him and then what we're doing. But it's really all thanks to Dr. Neil Reardon, who's the researcher from Wichita that now founded the Stem Cell Institute in Panama City, Panama. And so that's where we steer a lot of people to, is because we know from firsthand that it's top tier, really the leader in the space. And then we make sure that other families know what to ask their physicians and their researchers in other parts of the world to make sure they don't get steered to a bad actor. But primarily it's just making sure that people are aware this is an opportunity, know where to look to see if it could become a potential something available for them, and then finding strategic partners to ensure we can start stem cell trials in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And what is kind of have you heard anything about the trials coming to the U.S. anytime soon, or is there any legislation out there that's maybe coming down the pipeline?
good question. There's a lot of promise. We're working on some exciting things behind the scenes, but we're excited to hopefully share some news in the upcoming future. But right now, with these working in this this level of healthcare, we have to be very very careful because it's there's just large opportunities, and we don't want to give false promise before it's appropriate or at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, Blake, this is a great conversation, and I really hope somebody that has been looking for a solution stumbles across this episode that could use your treatments and learn more about the stem cell, I guess, treatments or therapies that are out there, and they reach out to you, and everybody else that just wants to support you. I hope they do, because this sounds amazing. I love the origin story with you and your brother. Just kind of, I know it's tough. I lost my brother several years ago too, and I know how hard that is on a family. And it's so nice to kind of see that you're kind of taking this up in his legacy and kind of keeping it going. But yeah, definitely, it's a great mission that you have here, and I hope a lot of people kind of help share this episode and support you and your cause, and share it with somebody that might need help. Help some of the people that you support, right? Hopefully this gets it in their hands. But Blake, this has been such a great conversation. Thanks so much for being here today, and I wish you all the luck with your organization.
thanks so much, Tom.
Thank you for tuning in to the $1 Million Nonprofit Podcast. If you'd like free resources to take your nonprofit to the $1 million mark, visit realtomkelly.com/playbooks. And because I'm committed to helping nonprofits maximize their impact and reach as many people as possible, contact us at hello@realtomkelly.com to explore bringing me in to speak at your next event. And as always, I'm looking forward to sharing more transformative insights with you on our next episode.